Then you call check off on her.
Mm-hmm.
She said she hadn't seen any more information out there yet. So.
And then just some other things. The party they had for John Dalton at Winston Scott's house, the invitation for that, I found it too.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. This is Shington Lammy with Leon County. Before we get started again, I need to ask everyone, please, if you could mute your phones. There's still a lot of background noise. There's so much for the background noise right now that we need you to mute your phone.
I'm assuming we're muted over here.
But we don't have any background noise.
All right. I think we got the all clear. Well, again, thank you again. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shington Lammy. I am the director of Leon County's Office of Human Services and Community Partnerships. Thanks for jumping on this webinar on the Leon County Cares Local Human Services Assistance Program. Before I dive into the few slides that you see up here on the Zoom site, I want to take the opportunity and thank Amber Tynan, Executive Director of United Partners in Human Services, UPHS, for her help in crafting this program from scratch. And also thank Amber, as well as Felina Martin of INI and Kathleen Spear with COCA for getting the word out to our local nonprofits on this funding opportunity to address the continued growing need in our community due to COVID-19. So with that, I'll get started. So as many of you may know, back in March, Congress passed the $2 trillion CARES Act in response to the health and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. As part of that bill, the Coronavirus Relief Fund was established to provide funds to state and county governments. Large counties with populations over 500,000 residents received direct funding in April, and funds were provided to states to flow down to smaller counties like Leon County. We were notified that Leon County would be allocated $51.2 million in CARES Act funding in late June. According to the CARES Act, the funding can be used to cover costs that meet three criteria: costs that were incurred due in response to costs that weren't budgeted, and costs that were incurred between March 1, 2020 and December 30th, 2020. With those criteria in mind, a couple of weeks ago, the Leon County Board of County Commissioners adopted the Leon CARES Plan, allocating $2 million to the Local Human Services Assistance Program.
I can actually come on and
Again, I'm going to remind everyone, please mute your phones. This program provides up to $20,000 in one-time assistance to support unexpected expenses incurred due to COVID-19 to nonprofit organizations that provide or will provide human services. What this means is that a nonprofit does not necessarily have to currently provide human services, but it may determine that there is a need that its clients, members, or patients have that is related to COVID-19. And this could be a personal protection equipment or supplies and materials that promote social distancing. These are considered expenses that were unexpected, often unbudgeted, and more likely incurred between March and today. So as a nonprofit, the requirements are relatively simple. An organization must be an established 501c3 with the IRS and registered as a nonprofit corporation with the state of Florida currently. Once an organization meets those criteria, the expenses eligible for funding reimbursements are unanticipated, programmatic, and operational expenses incurred due to COVID-19 or for enhancements of a program or service delivery to address increased needs of Leon County residents due to COVID-19. Again, I can't stress this enough, so I'll say it a few more times. The expenses must occur between March 1 and December 30th of this year. So some examples of eligible expenses include personal protection equipment, or known as PPEs, like face masks, face shields, and gloves. Personal costs not already in your budget and were incurred due to COVID-19, like hazardous pay. Purchase or lease of computers, laptops, or tablets. But let me just say, though, that it's going to be critical that an organization do a very good job with explaining how purchasing technology is tied to COVID-19 and its service delivery. And service assistance, such as providing temporary shelter through hotels to Leon County residents impacted by COVID-19. Of course, this list is not exhaustive at all, just a few examples. So some examples that are not eligible include expenses incurred before March 1st or after December 30th of this year, expenses that were already budgeted, and the magic date is March 27th. That's the date that the CARES Act was passed. If the expense was stopped in your budget after that date, you're fine, because the Fed assumes it was put in there due to COVID-19. But before March 27th is a no-go. So expenses already or will be reimbursed through other programs such as the federal PPP, the local lean program that was ran last month or a couple of months ago, and CHSP aren't eligible for reimbursement. The CARES Act and the U.S. Department of Treasury is very clear that funds can't be used to make up revenue loss also. Believe me, we've tried. So things like loss of membership or club dues can't be reimbursed. And programs or services that do not assist individuals, families impacted by COVID-19 are not eligible for these dollars either. So how to apply? You can't, at least not yet. So what we're doing right now is we're working with the financial firm Ernst & Young to develop an online application that will be very similar to the LEAN program, which I know many organizations applied for. The application will be very short. We'll need some general information about your organization name, address, contact information. A brief, very, very brief explanation on how your organization has been impacted by COVID-19 and or plan to enhance your program or services delivered to address need. We want this so short that there will be a 1,000 character limit for each, okay? You also have to upload documents verifying your 501c3 status and active registration with the state. There will be a spreadsheet to download where you must enter your funding request for either previous expenses incurred or future expenses that will be incurred through enhancement of programs or service delivery. Again, a reminder, please mute yourself.
Mute. Please mute your phone.
Hello? Someone's listening to like another call or something? We can hear it. Thanks. Okay. So like I was mentioning, there'll be a spreadsheet to download where you must enter your funding request for either previous expenses incurred or future expenses that will be incurred through either enhancing of programs or enhancing of some type of service delivery. The spreadsheet will have a sheet for each, either previous expenses or future expenses, but combined, they cannot exceed $20,000. Oh, someone, all right, there we go. So the spreadsheet breaks down with the expenses in 4 categories, right? So personnel, these are salary, wages, compensation, and or benefits expended that were unanticipated and incurred between March 1 and December 30th. This could be for additional staff that had to be hired or will be hired to address a need. It's not for severance, unemployment taxes, or any other employee separation costs. Those are ineligible, so those are not eligible expenses, okay? Supplies or equipment, these are items that individually cost $250 or less, but they may be more when you purchase in bulk. So think like face shields and touchless thermometers. And then capital, and these are items that are individually cost more than $250, or projects that require labor or construction, and this could be computer purchases or leases or installation of plexiglasses at your respective facilities. And then rent and utilities for costs that were not budgeted but expended between March 1st and December 30th. So if you had to rent additional space for the additional staff to implement the additional service due to COVID-19, that's where this eligible expense would go. You would provide a description for each category field and then upload the spreadsheet. You must upload the spreadsheet made available through the portal that will be created, where you'll be able to find it to apply for this program. Any different form of spreadsheet will be rejected and not considered for funding. Our goal is to launch the application on Monday, August 17th, and allow organizations to register with an email address and password a few days prior on Wednesday, August 17th. The application window would be open for approximately 2 weeks, and technical support would be available through our team here in our office as well as UPHS. Applications will be reviewed as they come in by a team of Leon County staff, and our goal is to notify awarded organizations a week after the application window closes. So we'll also notify organizations that weren't awarded at a later date. We intend to enter into agreement with the awarded organizations shortly thereafter, because we will have to spend these funds by December 30th, so we will move quickly. The funding will be a reimbursement arrangement. We can't provide any advance funding, only for costs that have already been incurred. We're developing a reimbursement form that will be submitted through our Leon Cares portal, along with expense documents like paid invoices and timesheets that support the reimbursement request that would have to be included. As we get closer to the scheduled launch date of the application, we will be providing more information through news releases, social media, our CHSP portal, and with UPHS. If you don't have access to these sites or would like direct notification emailed to you, please sign up with Melinda Harris, our Human Services Specialist, to the email that you see here on the screen. All Melinda needs is your name and email address. She doesn't need a long, poetic explanation about why your funding should be why your program should be funded. Though I know that will be very, very lovely. But all she really, really, really needs is name and email address. That is what we'll need, and then we will ensure that you get notified with any future webinars, additional information about when the application will be available and registration will be available for you to go onto the system and apply. In the next few days, we'll be releasing a frequently asked questions guide in partnership with UPHS based on inquiries and comments generated from today's webinar and questions that we've already received. Any future questions or comments can be shared with my team, whose email address are on the screen, Amber or myself. So I'll leave that up there for a few seconds. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
So Shington, just so you know, we have no questions thus far in the chat. I have gotten a couple of private questions related to if this slide deck will be available. So I let folks know that yes, we will have this available after the fact as well as the recording. You touched on needing to be a 501c3 registered with the state of Florida. Do they have to be registered prior to a certain date, or if an organization that identifies a need incorporates themselves right now, would they be eligible?
They would be eligible, but we would have to look at that very closely and to figure out what form of assistance or program that they are proposing to bring to the community, because at the end of the day, they would be potentially eligible for payments for future, for addressing. However, they would not be eligible for costs that might have been incurred prior to their registration date with the state.
Okay, some of the questions that are coming through from Bill Wilson, we have, what is the reimbursement period?
The way we set up the contract, that they'd be reimbursed every 30 days, monthly basis.
Okay.
Every 30 days.
Nancy O'Farrell is asking, can they be reimbursed for an expense that doesn't occur until December?
The expense has to incur, has to have occurred. I would need to see like paid invoice to show that you have actually incurred a cost. That doesn't happen until December. That's fine, with understanding that then reimbursement wouldn't occur until December. As long as it happens by December 30th, it works. It'll be fine.
Okay. Another question from Una is, can money be used and issued for client rent and utilities, or is it solely for the nonprofit organization's expenses?
So we have a program right now that's also part of CARES funding that we're launching. It's an individual assistance program where the county will provide individuals up to $1,000 in assistance for rent, mortgage, or utility payments. So because we have a program already there being funded through the CARES Act, that wouldn't be something that would be eligible through these program.
Okay. I don't know who this one's from. It just says iPhone, but are funds eligible to be counted as a match for additional federal funding?
Again, the most important, I don't see that being an issue. The most important thing is that the expenses, it has to be for expenses that occurred due to and that we were to enter into an agreement on a reimbursement basis. And so what that organization will have to ensure is that those expenses will be expended to either address need or unexpected, right? Or expenses that will be incurred by December 30th. So if it's a grant that where you're not going to get awarded it and you won't be able to January 1 or next year, then this might not be the best source for the matching funds.
Okay. Another question from Dr. Sean Wooden is, how are Leon County residents defined? If a nonprofit specific to their Southern Scholarship Foundation services people who live in Leon County due to attending college or university, would they be eligible?
Interesting question.
Yeah, that's a good question. My answer to that would be a conditional yes, but I would have to, of course, do a check-in, and that's part of our FAQ. We'd probably have to Amber for a as part of it, as part of what we're going to put together. But as of now, I don't think that should be an issue. But of course, we will check in with administration as well as Department of Emergency Management overseeing our contract for these funds.
Absolutely. As a reminder, if you could mute, I know Leon County is the host, but Shington may not have that control. So when he's speaking, it is difficult to hear with some that are unmuted. But another question we have from Kathleen Hampton is, if a nonprofit received funding from the LEAN grant, can they be eligible to apply for this?
Yes, they are. The only caveat we put is that, and this is when we're not going to, you know, go into your organization and make sure this is accurate, but we will ask you to certify when you apply that you're not requesting funds for expenses that you are already able to get reimbursement for through the LEAN program. But if there's some additional expenses that you do have, then yes, absolutely, these dollars can be, you can apply if you have applied for LEAN.
Awesome. Susan asks, if a capital project was already in planning before March 27th, but additional expenses will be incurred to better meet community needs arising from COVID-19, would those new expenses be eligible?
I would, again, provide a conditional yes, again, but I will check into that, because as long as I feel the organization can make the case that, yeah, we were going to build this building, but we had no intention to put in plexiglass or certain things, I think that makes a lot of sense. But of course, we will just circle back to make sure that my answer is correct.
Okay, I think this is Sylvia Hubbard. What if I need to buy computers in July 2020? So Sylvia, I'm not sure if your question is, would that be eligible, but I'll presume that that is what you intended.
Again, like I mentioned before, when it comes to the purchase of like computers, laptops, tablets, what we need to be able to do is make the case of why that purchase is critical to service delivery related to COVID-19, right? So what is it that you're looking to do? Is it because you're looking to serve young children who have to go to school, but because of social distancing or online learning, they won't have that capability to do that, and that's the reason. But you'd have to really make the case, because we know, working with the Leon County schools, that that's something that they're preparing to provide, resources they're working to provide here in the community. So you have to get a better understand how that's above and beyond what other resources we know that are available in the community in order to purchase that, and how that service delivery is tied to COVID-19, and the use of more technology with these dollars is going to be paramount for the service that you're looking to provide.
Perfect. And she clarified a little further down that in the event that she was approved and had to purchase computers in July 2020, but the grant doesn't open until August, would she be reimbursed? And the answer is yes, through any expenses from March 1st to December 30th, correct?
Correct. Yep, that's correct.
Una is asking where we can find the link to the client assistance program. I don't believe that's available yet, but you will let us know when it is.
Yeah, it's not available yet, but we are planning to put out a huge community release out, working with all our partners, especially our emergency resources partner, like Capital Action Agency, Salvation Army, and everyone else, to kind of get the word out when that resources will be available in the community.
A couple of questions about the PowerPoint. We did address this. Yes, it will be available after the fact. So if you registered, the email that you registered with, we will send it via that platform. Kenny Barber is asking, can funds be used for capacity building to address needs resulting from the COVID pandemic?
Capacity building, and I'm assuming that's like with personnel. Yes, but again, remember, these funds the expenses ends December 30th. So if you're bringing on staff or capacity that may go beyond December 30th, you would have to kind of work with us and explain to us how you plan to continue it beyond that December 30th, because after that, these dollars can't be expended beyond that date.
Okay. Melissa is asking, many smaller nonprofits have not been able to purchase necessary supplies or equipment due to the loss of revenue. How can nonprofits show a receipt if they do not have the funds to spend on the unexpected needs to reopen? So would there be any, what I gather from this is, would there be any advancement opportunities for funding?
Unfortunately, these are federal dollars, and we've kind of gone round and round with Department of Emergency Management as well as staff with Department of Treasury, and they've been very clear that it has to be on a reimbursement basis. It's not something where we can get advanced. Even the dollars that we're getting right now, or for the county, we will have to request reimbursement. So as we contract with organizations, you all, those who are awarded, will be our sub-grantees. And so as our sub-grantees, would have to get an agreement set up with you. As you set up your information and you get reimbursements, then we can then turn around and show proof that reimbursements were provided, and then we get reimbursed at the state level. So advances is not something that would be possible for this program.
And then the last question that I see in the chat, unless somebody wants to unmute their line, is what is the client assistance program? And for everyone else on the call, that is separate from the nonprofit community assistance grant program we're talking about today. But Shinkton, if you want to just give a brief overview of that.
Absolutely. So the individual assistance program is a program where the county will provide up to $3,000 to Leon County residents for rent, mortgage, or utilities. So whatever those costs, if they're in arrears, okay, so you have to be basically past due. Right now, the eligibility is, of course, like I said, you have to be a Leon County resident for the past 12 consecutive months. You have to have a household income of 80% or below the area median income of Leon County. You had to have worked at least average of 30 hours per week prior to March 1st, or prior to being laid off or furloughed or seeing any reduced hours in work. And unless, of course, you became unemployed due to COVID-19 and the economic impact that COVID-19 has had on the economy. And you have to show that you or attest that you've seen a loss of income. The household has seen a loss of income. If that can be proved, what the county will do is pay directly to the landlord, the mortgage company, the utility company, the cost up to $3,000 in assistance to help ensure that the person does not experience any form of homelessness, either because they get evicted or foreclosures or see a disconnection from services. And as I mentioned before, our intent is to roll this out later in the month of August. And when we do, one of the things that we plan to do is work with some agencies to serve as navigators to help people through the application process. The application process will be online based. It will all be online. And then we would coordinate with them, as well as work with them to coordinate with their landlords and their utility companies, emergency companies, to make sure that they don't see a loss in their homes. So.
A couple other questions. Kenny is asking, does the county get a portion of the funds in advance?
Yes, the county got, I forget the number that we received back when we actually contracted with the, when we signed the contract with Florida.
Can You broke up there a little bit, Shington, and Mr. Barber, just so you're aware, this program specifically for nonprofits is one of many that the county is rolling out. So yes, there was an advancement, but just know that it's to support multiple programs within this CARES Act funding. Kay Crawford is asking, is providing internet access to families with children in school reimbursable?
Yes, with the understanding this, as I shared before, that service that you're providing, we can only reimburse up to December 30th. Beyond December 30th, we can't. And then the other thing we can't do is can't advance fund, like for example, pay 1 year worth of a data plan or internet plan, because what they see that as is that you're paying for something beyond December 30th. It could only be for costs that will be incurred for services provided and incurred between March 1 and December 30th.
Hey, what's going on?
That is all of the questions that we have in the chat, unless you want to invite others to unmute their line and ask any last minute pressing questions they may have.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions on the telephone? Okay, nothing heard. I'm
Yes,
sorry?
this is Samantha Vance. Will you repeat the question about the 30-day reimbursement? Is it every 30 days? I didn't catch that.
So if we contract with an organization, we would set up as part of our agreement that every 30 days we would request reimbursements. They would be able to go into the system and put up a reimbursement form, as well as upload all of the backup information that is associated with the ask for the reimbursement form, so then that way we can then turn around and process that for payment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it possible for us to get a written response to the questions, because there is so much background noise that much of his answers are just being not heard? So is it possible to take these same questions and write them up and give us a written response to these questions?
Yes, Donna, we are taking note. We already have a frequently asked questions guidebook established. We'll be adding the questions from today to that and sending it out as well to those participating, as well as nonprofit sector partners. Shington, the last, whoever has a phone number of 850-241-6434, please mute.
There is a very loud squealing sound.
Yeah, you can't hear anything to this noise. Oh, God, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask everyone before Amber continues, please, if you can hear me, please mute your phone. Go ahead, Amber.
So another question from Melissa was, is the county program for what is incorporated or included with the small business assistance program?
That information we can share. I don't have it in front of me. I know it is for-profit organizations that have seen or experienced loss due to COVID-19 economically. But that's something we can share also. As what we'll have is, what we're working on also is creating a Leon Cares portal that will list all of the programs that's been established through the funds that we've created with through the Leon Cares plan, and it will be able to and through that we'll be able to list what all the programs are and eligibility requirements and when their launch date will be.
Another question that has come through, and I think this is from Victoria, is if agencies have received other CARES Act funds, so PPE and the like, can they still be eligible for these funds? And what I think I heard you say earlier, Shington, is yes, as long as they're not being reimbursed for the same items.
Right.
Hi, this is Melissa VR. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. I have a question about, just so we can inform households about the $3,000 individual assistance. What is the 80% median income for Leon County? So we have information.
It's different. We're using the information that we get from HUD, the HUD number, and so one example would be for a family of 4, 80% would be $58,150. So for a family of 4, anyone who makes that or less would be eligible for the program. One of the things we'll also provide is a chart of what that means, because it's not just based on the number, it's also the other part is the number of folks in the household. So we would provide a chart so that way that can help folks so that way they can know whether or not they're eligible for the program.
Thank you so much.
Again, no other questions in the chat unless somebody wants to come off mute and ask it directly.
Let me just share, because now I see we've gotten some considerable questions about programs that assist people with rent and utilities. We've been working very, very closely with 211 Big Bend, as well as a lot of our emergency resource partners like Capital Area, like ECHO, like Salvation Army, to put together a comprehensive list of programs and services available to people who are experiencing trouble with rent and utilities as part of the pandemic. So reaching out to 211 Big Bend and working, I know I've been working very closely with Margot. They have information about not just our program, but other programs that's available in the community to assist people with rent and utilities. In fact, we internally, the county, we do have a program called the Direct Emergency Assistance Program, DEEP, which can also assist individuals with rent and utilities. That qualification is different from this individual assistance program. I don't want to confuse everyone about it, but what we'll do is for everyone who either, and I hope everyone got this either through the CHSP portal or via email through Amber. Amber, what we'll do is we have a little cheat sheet specifically on the county program. So it talks about the individual assistance program, but it also talks about DEEP and VEEP. And VEEP is basically like DEEP, except it's for veterans, where we can assist people now. So they don't have to wait until we launch this individual assistance program. DEEP can help them now with their rent or their utility bill.
Absolutely. Elise asked a question in the chat box, and I've answered it, but for anybody else that may have the same question, is the Leon Cares portal open now, or is it in the works? And as shared, the goal is for it to be open on August 17th with the opportunity for nonprofits seeking to apply to register prior to.
Yes. So the idea is our goal is to launch August 17th, where people can, where our organizations can go and apply, but set up where you can go in and actually register and set up your email and password information on a few days before, on August 12th is what we're working to do. And again, as these all occur, we will notifications through the CHSP portal, through news releases, through the work we're doing with UPHS to make sure that everyone's informed. But again, as I shared before, that if you want another way to get the information, emailing Melinda at harrisma@leoncountyfl.gov. That's also a way where we can get the information to you, and we can create kind of like a listserv so we know who to notify when we're rolling out information about the Human Services Program.
Washington, Bill Wilson here. Cash is always king. If we are making those reimbursement requests on a 30-day basis, what's the expected pay cycle for those? So we know how much we have to plan for.
15 business days is what our goal is. Process it by 15 business days. And then you can also choose either to get it by check or through direct deposit.
Hi, this is Dot Inman Johnson. Does that individual assistance program assist people with mortgages too who are delinquent?
Yes, it assists with mortgages also. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Deborah Lloyd. So in the individual assistance program, if you're helping someone, say you're helping them with their utilities or even with their mortgage, some people are still looking for jobs. What if they need assistance with that, say to keep their utilities on, but they haven't yet found a job? Would they even be eligible?
Yes, they would be eligible. So our requirement of working, if you can show that, well, I'm not working because I've been laid off, been furloughed, so maybe you're, or maybe you just seen a reduction in hours, that's fine. That's information that we will take into account, and that would still make you eligible.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So again, a question, because I saw another county say that they were going to try to give the rent and utilities directly to the companies and not to the actual individual. That's not something that the Leon County is thinking of doing at all. Is that correct?
No, our intent is to give it directly to the landlords, directly to the utility companies. That's what we do right now through our DEEP program. We don't provide funds directly to the client, because our goal, the goal of our program, is to ensure that that person does not see a disruption in their home or like lose their home. I mean, that's the most important thing. And typically what we do is, at least with our DEEP program, we connect with the landlord and get them to agree that if they were to receive these dollars, that they will not evict that person, sign off on their, and then we provide them a promise to pay. If that person is eligible and funds are available, we provide a promise to pay and pay that landlord directly or to the utility company directly.
Okay, so individual assistance goes directly to landlord and utility company, not to the family individuals. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Would just like to add, and this is Dot, that Shington is absolutely correct. The only way you can be assured that it goes for the purpose it's meant is if you have an agreement with the mortgage company, the landlord, or with the utility company to not shut off the utilities if the check is made out directly to them.
Right. And so one of the things we're planning to do, working with some of our partners in the community, like Big Bend Homeless Coalition, is to reach out to some of our landlords that we've already worked through our DEEP program, as well as other landlords, to let them know of our program that's coming online, and walk them through the process and steps, so that way they, one, can inform their tenants, but they can be aware of what's going to be required of them to help us to quickly process the funds, so that way that person doesn't lose their home. And also it's a conversation we've had with the city for city utilities, as well as Talquin.
Okay, thank you.
Again, because we've had a couple of questions about this, the link for the PowerPoint, the FAQs that we referenced, as well as this recording, will be available after the fact. So be on the lookout for that via the email that you utilize to register either for this event, or obviously we send it through the CHSP portal, and UPHS members have received that, but we'll make sure that any NCOGA members and constituents have it as well.
Something just happened there. Amber, but I think we're okay now.
I have a. Can
I
you
heard
hear me?
this.
I have a question. Regarding the rent payments, the $3,000 can cover rent and or utilities, or can it be a combination?
It can be a combination.
I have about the tenant who would have a lease. Are they required to?
I'm sorry, someone's making some bag noise. And again, everyone, I'm sorry. For some reason, the system won't let me mute everyone, and that's why we kind of have to let it just ride right now. So I apologize for that. But go ahead.
My quick question is, as far as the lease, does the individual need to provide a lease, and is that lease required to be at least 6 months, 1 year, or can they get coverage or get assistance if they have a month-to-month lease?
They have to have a lease. There are some form of agreement. What we don't want is a situation where someone's saying, well, yeah, I'm paying my mom to live here. So that's why there's got to be some form of an agreement, almost like a business relationship, that I will provide you this place to live for a cost. And it's more of a business arrangement and not like a familial arrangement.
And the lease could be, just has to be at least a year or 6 months, or as long as
Right, and it has to show that, like, let's say, for example, it can't be a lease where it's going to end, at the end of August. Well, at that point, that person's not going to live there unless the landlord is saying, well, I intend to, honor a renewal or something like that. So, these are things we regularly deal with through our DEEP program also.
Because that question is, for example, someone who's been living in a house for the last 4 months didn't get put out. The landlord couldn't put them out because of the restrictions
right
now. So that landlord would just lose. They would not, if the lease is going to end in September or October, that would be a case where that person would not be able to pay their rent.
Well, I mean, we don't want a situation where even if that person is leaving, that they get in a situation where they can't get another place to stay. We'd have to kind of work through that with that individual to figure out what's their circumstance. Because again, the most important thing is the goal is so they don't lose a place to stay. So if you're not going to have a place to stay at the end of August, then it's defeating the purpose of the program to ensure that you don't lose your home.
Okay. All right.
Shane, I have another question for Mr. Barber. Specifically, how would you rank the level of difficulty of the grant application and required documentation? I'll just share from our perspective and working with the Leon County team in Shington to establish this. It's going to be very similar to the lien application. We wanted it to be as least burdensome to our agencies as possible, but I'll let you speak to the required documentation piece, Shington. Yeah,
like Amber mentioned, very simple. We really need 3 documents. Really, it's going to be your 501c3 verification document that verifies that you're registered as a nonprofit with the state, and then uploading of the spreadsheet that shows what's your funding request. And then everything else is your name, your address, quick, what you do. And again, like I mentioned before, those things that are a little broader where we're asking you to kind of provide some explanation, like, how you've been impacted by COVID-19, what you plan on doing, potentially if you were to receive funds, those things will be limited to a character of 1,000 characters, because again, we don't need anything very lengthy. So we want to make it as simple as possible.
Excuse me. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, see, my question was in regards to the nonprofits as well. I came on a little later, so I was wanting to know about the nonprofits program you have.
This is the nonprofit. This is it. That's what we're talking. Now, we've veered a few times. There's been a few questions about our individual assistance program, but this is specifically regarding our human services grant program.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And as Amber has shared, we'll get the PowerPoint somewhere so that way everyone can get to it. And then we'll also get the recording to everyone also.
Okay.
There is a question from Melissa Shington about what is the funding amounts or levels for small businesses?
Again, that's something that I'm not aware of. I can check. That's information that I can find out and get back to this group. I know.
And Melissa, just so you know, and everyone else, this is one of many programs under the Leon County CARES program and funding allocation. It is tiered and it's based on size and number of employees, I believe, but we'll make sure to link and loop everybody to the information specific to all of the programs after the fact and once they're available.
Thank you.
Okay, so just real quick, based on what we provided to the board, I went ahead and looked at the agenda item that was approved by the County Commission on July 14th. A small business program will provide between $1,500 to $6,000 grants to small businesses. And it's going to be based on the business's number of employees to cover business expenses directly related to COVID-19.
So when the portal does become open, how will we be able to get the information? What site will we have to go on?
We will notify, again, we will notify through our news release, social media, CHSP portal, working with UPHS. If you need to, you can send your email address, your name and email address to Melinda, and we will notify you of information regarding when it's going to open, how to get into it, and all those other things that will be required, as well as we'll continue to provide technical support. Our staff will provide the technical support that's required should you need it. Also working with UPHS to provide that technical support. So that way you can put together an application that is likely to get funded.
Okay, okay.
There are no further questions in the chat.
Okay. Anything else on the phone?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you again for taking the time this afternoon to jump on this call on the webinar regarding the human services, our local human services assistance program. Again, if you have any questions, those are the numbers and email addresses that you can shoot us some questions. You can answer those questions. But again, like I mentioned before, an FAQ guide will be coming out shortly over the next couple of days as well, that kind of touches on some of the questions that were asked during this call and answering those, as well as we'll get an opportunity to post the recording of today's webinar as well as the PowerPoint slide. So with that, you all have a good day. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well.
Great job. Thank you.